We continue our reading of Lest We Forget, a daily devotional by author George R. Knight. Today's reading, March 29, Providential Dreams. Behold, the dwelling place of God is with man. He will dwell with them, and they will be his people, and God himself will be with them as their God. Revelation 21:3. While we are thinking about early Advent hymns, we need to take a look at the short but productive life of Annie Smith, who has 3 hymns in the Seventh-day Adventist hymnal. How Far From Home? I Saw One Weary, and Long Upon the Mountains. Annie's mother had been a Millerite and by 1851 had become a Sabbatarian Adventist and had met Joseph Bates. The two of them agreed to pray for her children, who had no interest in Adventism. Shortly afterward, Bates scheduled himself to hold meetings near Annie's residence. Her mother urged her to attend, but the daughter wasn't much interested. Perhaps to please her mother, though, she agreed to go. The night before the meetings, Bates dreamed of it. All seats were filled except one by the door. He dreamed that he changed his subject from the one he had planned to the topic of the sanctuary. They sang the first hymn, prayed, and sang a second hymn. And just as he was opening his Bible and was reading, unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. And pointing to the drawing of the sanctuary on his large prophetic chart, the door opened, and a young woman entered and took her seat in the vacant chair. Bates also dreamed that the person was Annie Smith, for whom he and her mother had been praying. That same evening, Annie had essentially the same dream. In hers, she also saw herself arriving late, just as the preacher began reading from Daniel 8:14. The next evening, Annie started out in plenty of time, but lost her way, and so failed to arrive until the second hymn. She quickly took the seat by the door, just as the preacher began reading the text that she had dreamed of. Bates had not thought about his dream until she entered the room. As he closed the meeting, he went to Annie, addressing her as Mrs. Smith's daughter, whom he had dreamed about the night before. Annie Smith's life would never be the same. That night, she accepted the Sabbatarian Adventist message. God works in wondrous ways, and he still does so in our day. All of us have loved ones who need to realize God's love and care more fully. The God who cares for us also cares for our loved ones. Let us never cease praying for them. This concludes our reading today of Lest We Forget.